Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, I'll share with you a lesson about money. I will not be chasing the algorithm and just focus on what I think is important for you guys to know. I'll just put some clickbait titles since it's part of the game, but my focus now is the community, which is you people. Okay, let's get right into it. So what is money? Has money existed throughout our human history? And is money man-made or is money part of nature? Let me bring you back to a time where in our human history, we are hunter-gatherers. We hunt for food, we gather edible stuff and store them in a secret hideout. Now in this period, there was not much exchanging and transaction going on. Because we live in the social groups that are self-reliant, we don't have to exchange stuff to survive. So hunting and gathering was humanity's original and most enduring adaptation in the natural world, occupying at least 90% of our human history. So for 90% of human history, money did not exist. And perhaps it may be a reason why most humans are bad with money, or the concept of money, since it is not natural to them. So the question is, when did we start using money? It is when humans have the agricultural revolution. We start to have a change of lifestyle. So instead of hunting animals, roaming around and plucking berries, we started to settle down in fertile lands and started growing our own food. We domesticated animals for food and labor. And when we get increasingly better at agriculture, not everybody needs to grow food anymore. So we have people who specialize in other things, such as weaponsmith, shoemaker, cloth maker, etc. Now with so many new products appearing in the market, how are you going to remember all the exchange rates? For example, instead of exchanging 3 sheep for 1 cow for 100 pair of shoes, 1 shoe for 1 dozen of eggs, we need something that can be in the middle of exchanging everything. So that is the first form of money. Money as a medium of exchange. We then have to decide on what to use as money. Do you use your hair or do you want something that has scarcity and is rare? So we tried a lot of things from seashells, copper, meteorite, and eventually settling down to gold and silver. Now gold and silver is the best element to be used as money. It has scarcity. It does not corrode and it is solid in room temperature. But the problem with gold and silver is that it is heavy to carry them around. Since then, government and private business promised to safeguard the precious metals and issue paper note that people can carry around freely and easily. So these paper notes are supposed to be as good as gold and silver. But eventually, greed gets the better of people every time throughout history. And they end up issuing more paper bill than there is gold and silver in their own bank vault. This causes price of gold to be inflated, not because the goods itself appreciated in price, but the value of the paper note become more and more worthless. We fast forward to the 20th century, we still have the gold standard, meaning to say the paper money we print is still pegged to the amount of gold we have. When Europeans fought World War I, they needed to print more money to fight the war with each other. They abandoned the gold standard for the first time. I don't want to bore you guys with the details, but if you want to check it out, I've actually made the whole video in the past. I'll link it up here and down below. So I will just make the long story short. To make everyone prosperous in the world, we have to do business internationally. So other nations proceed to store their gold in US, and because gold is too heavy, we use US dollar to transact for global trade. And this makes US dollar the reserve currency. And these US dollars were supposed to be pegged to gold. For example, $20 equals to 1 ounce of gold. Now the reserve currency is being used worldwide for business. And the US government gets to print whatever they want and however they want. And that is why they can print money and maintain a military budget of $700 billion per year, more than the next 7 biggest military spending combined. And if anyone were to oppose using US dollar as the reserve currency, the country gets invaded. So let's look at the Middle East. They have oil and they form OPEC, also known as Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. Iraq wanted to sell their oil for euro instead of US dollar, and they got invaded because of weapons of mass destruction. Gaddafi too wanted to sell their oil for gold and drop the US dollar, and there is a regime change. This is known as the petrodollar. You have to read history, connect the dots, and it will be quite obvious to you. So I first noticed this problem when I was 20 years old, and I documented it in 2016. So in 1971, President Richard Nixon ended the gold standard, removing the link between dollars and gold.
I have directed the Secretary of the Treasury to take the action necessary to defend the dollar against the speculators. I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve asset.
The dollar is no longer backed by a legitimate asset and is now dependent on the faith and trust of the US government, and you have to trust that the US government will not screw it up. So what does all this mean and why am I telling you this? I want to let you know that fiat currency, like this one I'm holding, is actually not worth much. In the eyes of the rich, we will quickly convert this to an asset, a productive asset. We will only convert our assets to cash in the short term if we want to avoid disaster and financial crisis. So what I want to say is, the whole framework of how most people think about money is wrong. And my job here is to tell you the truth and hopefully to educate you. It doesn't make sense for you to work hard and save money when a governing entity can just print it. They can print money faster than you can save up.
Pivotal moments in history that hardly anyone knows the importance of. For the first time in modern history, the world's money was no longer tied to anything. For the first time, if you want to take people's wealth, if you want them to work for you as your indentured slaves, no longer did you have to do it at the point of a gun or through taxes, both of which breeds resentment. Now all you had to do was print more money. The more money you printed, the more of their wealth you stole from them without them ever even noticing it before it's too late. Because the dollar amount in their bank account stays the same, but the value of those dollars goes down. What started in 1971 was the greatest con and wealth redistribution scheme humanity has ever seen. And with it, the Bretton Woods system officially came to an end.
I always ask myself why most people don't understand this about money, and I come to two conclusions. So number one is that Homo sapiens have existed about 160,000 years, and money appeared about 5,000 years ago, so it is not natural for us to know about money. And number two, the education system which we are in is heavily subsidized by the money printed from the governing entity, so there is a conflict of interest to letting people know the truth. So you may ask, how does knowing this helps to change your current situation? And my answer to this is that there is a lot you can do about this. And the first thing you should do is to change your mindset. Since money as we know it today have become less valuable as compared to before 1971, our job is to borrow the less valuable money and use them to make more money. And then we take the extra money we make and then we convert it into real assets. So that means your framework about money has to change. It becomes improving your value creation skill and building systems so that bank can look at the system and company, and if they see your balance sheet is good, the business is healthy and low risk, they will lend the money to you at low interest rates. Now of course, everything is easier said than done, but the first thing we can do about this is adopting the right mindset. Now the whole system is designed to trap you with debt after debt. So for example, your student loan, your wedding, your housing, your renovation and your healthcare. And you get sandwiched between two generations and your time gets taken away. Now think about it for a second and ask yourself if the system we live in is really beneficial for you to adopt that thinking framework. Okay guys, if you like this kind of video where I just talk about knowledge from my memory bank, just comment down below and let me know. I'll see the response and make videos accordingly. Of course, do help me out by liking this video and subscribing to my channel. Let's get this channel to 1.5k subs. Thank you and I'll see you next week.